Guys, welcome to Two Fun Guys Podcast. We have a very special guest today, Brenda Turner.
Hey.
Welcome.
Hi.
Very excited to have you. I remember I first discovered you maybe like 10 years ago when I was a trainer over in Bellevue outside of Seattle. And I would send a lot of your videos. I'll find a creator and I'll get like hooked for a little bit. And I remember seeing like your coffee video. I was like, oh man, I gotta get off coffee. And some of the other ones. And I try to find people who can. You did a good job with your fitness content of really educating people on the fundamentals of well-rounded fitness and well-being.
Thanks.
And you would articulate it very well.
Thanks.
And so I would send that as propaganda, positive propaganda to influence people into change.
Thanks.
Right? And then I went on all kinds of journeys and whatnot, but you also kind of disappeared. But you've been on YouTube for 14 years or something like that.
Yeah, 15.
So let's just start there. Okay. Like getting on to YouTube, what made you even decide?
Yeah, so I was a broke personal trainer. And
as most of them are.
Yeah. Were you a personal trainer too?
I was a personal trainer for about a week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you were like, fuck this.
Yeah, I sold
$200 paycheck.
I was a sales manager at a gym, but I wanted to be a trainer. And so I was like, oh yeah, let's get my certification. I was a trainer for about a week, and then I realized the hours suck.
Yeah.
You train at like 5 a.m. and then you do nothing all day until 5 p.m. and you make way less money. I was like, fuck it, I'm going back to sales.
I was actually a busy personal trainer.
Yeah.
And I worked at Bally Total Fitness, and they paid a good hourly rate,
nice.
But you had to sell. And I don't like sales. Actually, to this day, sales is my least favorite part of business. I don't enjoy selling. I just hate it. And so anyway, I was kind of a broke personal trainer, and my boyfriend at the time, who was my partner for 17 years, by the way, maybe we'll talk about that, but he is a business savant, and you can give that man a nickel and put him in the middle of Alaska and he could turn it into $1 million, like no joke. Wow. So he was 19 and I was 17, and then I started personal training, and he was in college and he started doing direct marketing with a pheromone cologne that he made. And he got this kind of cockamamie idea, this kind of scheme thing that I was like, what are you doing? He was going to college, and then he's like, okay, I got this idea. Like, I'm going to buy a bunch of ads and I'm going to sell this pheromone cologne. I'm not going to blow up his spot because he's very private. We're not together anymore, and he's very private. Anyway, so he had this pheromone cologne idea, and he's like, I think I can make this work. So he set up his phone so that every time he got a sale, it would ding. And it was like we were out to dinner, and it was like ding, 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 ding. And he ding, ding. And I was like, what the hell? And I'm doing his fulfillment for him. I was helping him pack and ship these things. And I was personal training. And he's like, look, you're so smart. You got to do something like online, like do this stuff online. I was also doing the copywriting for his stuff. I really love writing. That's my first passion. That's my greatest love. That's my love. That's my one true love in life is writing. So I was doing his copywriting, and the copywriting that I was doing for his sales pages was converting like really, really well. So then I was like, maybe I could do an ebook. Do you guys remember? You might remember. There was a website called eJunkie, and that's where people were selling ebooks. And this was back in 2009, 10. So I wrote an ebook. And then I had this idea that maybe I could sell it on YouTube. And so I started just posting stuff on YouTube. I have a theater background too. So YouTube, this whole thing is kind of like a perfect amalgam of like, I have a theater background. I love writing. I love helping people. I love fitness. I love movement. And so I got this idea to start posting stuff on YouTube, and I put it up there for name your price, donation-based. And my very first video I posted was like how water bottles cause weight gain or something. And it got like 30,000 views. And then the next one got I think it was like 1 million views or something. Because This was 2008, 2009, before everybody was posting on YouTube.
The heyday of YouTube.
Yeah, I was one of the very first fitness people on YouTube. Like, not that sounds a little bit like arrogant, but I was one of the, I guess, pioneers.
No, you definitely were. There wasn't really definitive influencers
There
yet.
wasn't.
It was
there was
mostly
not.
like Vine style videos.
Right.
Like cat videos and people mowing their lawn and falling over and just random shit.
Yeah. And so I had this feeling that something big was going to, I had this feeling that this was like a big thing. And just to anybody listening right now, I just want to say, look, I know it seems like we're far along in this whole YouTube thing and you're not sure if you should be getting on YouTube still, and it's saturated and all this stuff. I personally feel like we're still in a brand new part of this whole thing in humanity. Do you guys remember when, this was before our time, but when TV came?
Yeah.
And everybody was like, holy shit, TV. And everybody was watching TV and it changed the world. We're still in this brand new thing where TV is not going to be a thing in 10 or 15 years. And literally everybody's going to be on the internet consuming their media. But there's still a blue ocean here. So if you're watching this and you're like listening to people like Brent and I, and just whatever, all the podcasters, and you're like, I don't even know if I should start. Please start, because it's still a blue ocean out here and you can still get your message out. So anyway, I started doing that, posting on YouTube, and my book kind of took off and I started getting some sales. Long story short, I had a pretty good career and then I worked myself into the ground. And then I was making more money than I ever imagined this little Chicago girl who grew up on ramen noodles could. And I was miserable and I had clinical depression for pretty much most of that time. And I woke up one day, it was a Black Friday sale, and I made like an ungodly amount of money. And I was happy for literally 5 minutes, like 5 minutes. And I was like, oh no, this isn't it. This is not what it is. Like that I thought. There's this little part of my ego that was like, if you just keep running fast enough, if you just keep going, if you just achieve this, if you just make this much money, if you just, then this feeling inside will go away and you won't have these feelings anymore. And then the more I would get these things, the less I would feel. The horizon would just keep moving. And so anyway, I came to the realization it was about to be, I could have had millions of subscribers by now, but anyway, it was right at probably before the peak of the whole thing. And I just completely stopped posting. And I thought I'll just take a little time off, but I moved to Austin and I was like, yeah, I'll just take a little time off. I launched one more course and then I was like, I'll just take a few weeks off. And then before I know it, the divine beloved just said, no, stop. And I was like, but there's this part of my ego that's like, please, we got to keep posting. This is part of my identity. And the divine beloved was just like, experience what it's like to just not have that crutch of like a career and the achievement thing. And I didn't know exactly how long that was going to last, but I wandered for about 8 years. And then I came back. Now I'm back. I came back about 2 years ago. But that's pretty much the long and short of it. Is I'm basically I'd say I'm an artist, a student, and a teacher who has this weird winding path. And now I've all throughout the through line is that I'm dedicated to helping in whatever way I can to turn my lemons into lemonade and then share it with other people. And that's more or less what I'm here to do. And sometimes that involves YouTube, and sometimes it involves just sitting here talking to my friends and like you guys, and sometimes it involves just being nowhere and just wandering around Austin. And so that's more or less what it is. That's my little journey in a nutshell. That's the long-winded elevator pitch.
I think a lot of people probably really resonate with doing things in their lives, whether it's career or chasing things and not feeling fulfilled or still being depressed or anxious. Mm-hmm. So you made that decision to step away.
Yeah. I had a spiritual awakening. It all came to a crescendo when I got a health crisis. So I had the clinical depression throughout the whole time. It was oscillating between clinical depression and anxiety. And then I had a health crisis where I had something called alopecia areata. And so I had a little tiny patch of hair that was missing on the top of my head. And I thought it was ringworm because I work out a lot.
Yeah.
And I went to the dermatologist and they said, oh, this is alopecia areata. Okay. What does that mean? And then that patch grew to the size of a softball. And I was staring at myself in the mirror, seeing all the stuff that I had repressed, the anxiety, the depression. And so that cracked my ego open. And that was the start of my spiritual awakening. And so I've heard that that's really common, that when you get suffering is actually a great catalyst for an opening in your spiritual process. And that's exactly what happened. It was pretty much the feeling that I can give is almost like a crack of a nutshell, where there was a breaking point where I was looking at myself in the mirror. I had a huge softball-sized bald patch on the top of my head, and I had to come to a reckoning with the state of my inner self, the fear, the pain, the anxiety, the depression, the suppression, the complete abandonment of my joy for the sake of achievement, for the sake of placating this little gremlin inside of me that says, you have to work. I didn't take a day off for like 6 years, and I was always just working, like sometimes 16 hours a day, just obsessively working. And not so much for money. It was just a sense of that I have to accomplish, I have to achieve, I have to make something of myself, you know? And then the spiritual awakening was like, I don't have to make anything of myself because I am what I am. I am that I am. I am that I am. I am that I am. So
was that the catalyst for you to take that time off and wander?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What did you do in that time while you were wandering?
For the first 2 years, I was just basically unsettled. I'm not going to lie and make it sound like rainbows and unicorns. For the first 2 years, it was me asking the Divine Beloved, what the hell am I doing? And the Divine Beloved said to me quite clearly, don't worry about it. You're just going to not be Brenda for a while. And then eventually I stopped feeling like Brenda. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's the best way I can put it, is I stopped being Brenda, the small little me, the poor little me, the scared little me. And I started being that part of me that's the true part, that I started to experience what I was reading about because I'd studied this stuff my whole life.
It makes sense. It's like a disillusionment of the idea of what you were.
Yeah. Yeah. And I read about this stuff. I was studying this stuff my whole life, and I was studying it and studying it and studying it and thinking, I'm doing it. Like I'm studying it, but I wasn't doing it because I was still, and so then the spiritual awakening part was, oh, you're actually opening your eyes and experiencing it. So it was really just letting go of the bullshit, surrendering, letting go, releasing. And then I also got trainings and certifications. For the rest of the time, the majority of it was, I didn't know why, but I was like drawn to, I studied with Dr. Scott Lyons of the Embody Labs Institute for Somatics and Stress Release. I studied with Dr. Peter Levine, and he does some somatic experiencing. I study with Dr. Ariel Schwartz, and she's into polyvagal theory and yoga. I went to Peru and I got a yoga certification. I study with Dr. Richard Miller with Yoga Nidra, and that's somatics and polyvagal stuff and settling the nervous system. So I basically took this fear that I was dealing with, all this fear and all this bullshit, and my spiritual awakening was figuring out, okay, well, how do I heal this? I'm ready to heal all of this stuff. And I'm a student in life and a teacher. Those are my roles. And so it's really important, if I'm going to teach, then I better learn this shit like the back of my hand. So I wasn't doing it on purpose to like teach this stuff, but I was really just driven to, okay, well, why was I feeling like I had a bomb strapped to my chest for my entire adult life? Why couldn't I sleep well? Why was I feeling like miserable about the fact that I had to be alive? Like, why was it so much of a struggle? And so anyway, I learned and I trained during that time. And then I came back when I realized when I was fully released on, I don't give a shit if I accomplished anything. I don't care if I die without a penny to my name. Like, I got to this point where I was just free as a bird. And then I got this strong pull. Okay, it's time to go back on YouTube. It's time to teach what you learned. You get it now. You understand.
You went into the cave for 7 years and meditated, and it's time to come out and teach.
Right.
But I want to touch on all these different teachers you've worked with and kind of go into each one, talk a little bit about what they're about, what you took from them, and maybe some things people can apply from each one of them.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So the first thing is Dr. Richard Miller of the iRest Institute. You know all about Yoga Nidra. So Yoga Nidra is a beautiful modality that helps you to release from the small self, and it helps you to rest into the awareness that I am. And a lot of us haven't ever relaxed in our lives. I didn't relax in my entire life until I did Yoga Nidra. Like, I slept and I maybe took a bath or whatever, and I got some massages every now and then, but I didn't really know what relaxation was and rest. So Yoga Nidra gives you that opportunity. And
Can you describe real quick what the I am? When you say that, people probably wondering, what does she mean when she says that?
The I am that I am is that ineffability. It's the ineffable, indescribable part of us that cannot be cannot be said with words. So I'm going to try to say with words what cannot be said with words. It's if you could take your face, take it off of your head, and look at yourself in the eyes and see the soul of yourself. All the things that are not your personality, that aren't your name, that aren't your gender, that aren't your flesh and bones, that part of you that animates your body, that drives your soul. You are that, and that thing that can't be named. We're pointing to the moon, and it's not the moon. That thing that can't be named is what some people refer to as God, what some people refer to as the divine beloved. That is what you are. So I am that I am, that I am, that I am, that I am, forever and ever and ever. That's the best way that I can put it.
Perfect.
It's about as good as you can get it with words.
Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
Thanks. It's the part of you that isn't. If you get really quiet, everybody. This isn't about. It's really important that it's. What I'm all about is experiential understanding and knowing. So, again, don't listen to what I'm saying or what any teacher is saying. Just for a moment, if you just get really quiet, even in the morning is a really good time to just get really quiet. Those parts of yourself that are settled. That's that I am. That I am. That's all it is. It's really simple. It's when you're peaceful. It's when you're not stressed. It's when you're joyful. It's just all that stuff that transcends the little small self. I think a lot of people know what I'm talking about. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you will. It's an inevitability. The Course in Miracles says that all of this is an inevitable thing, that the miracle, the Course in Miracles, the time that you take it, it's up to you, but it is a mandatory course and everybody's going to go through it. And I believe that every single human being has this in their path, that they're going to know the I am that I am. That's just my own personal belief. I know I can get kind of woo-woo and get me on track at any time.
No, it's
but,
perfect.
Yeah, but we're all going to experience that in one form or another. I think that's a guarantee for every lifetime. Everybody gets this gift of knowing and experiencing that. It doesn't matter what you call it or what you believe or what religion you ascribe to.
So Yoga Nidra.
Oh, yeah.
And then who are some of the other teachers?
Oh, yeah. So Dr. Richard Miller, anybody who's interested in getting your nervous system settled, and PTSD in particular, if you have any PTSD or PTSD, I can't recommend Richard Miller and the IREST Institute enough. They have a bunch of free resources, by the way. So if you go to the irest.org website and take any one of their Yoga Nidra, free Yoga Nidras, it's really helpful. And then Dr. Scott Lyons of the Embody Labs, his work is very heavily based in Bessel van der Kolk's work. Bessel van der Kolk is the author of The Body Keeps a Score. So basically, we have all these, the fascia and the nervous system and the vagus nerve that goes from behind the eyes all the way down the tailbone. When it's not myelinated, it leads to a dysregulation of the nervous system. So you can think of it like a seesaw. If the nervous system is in the depressed mode, then we have depression. And then if it's overactive, we have anxiety. And a lot of people are walking around like I was, one or the other. But if you have a myelinated vagus nerve, it's balanced. So Dr. Scott Lyons gives us tools for experiencing that. The long and short of it, from all my teachers, all of them have different backgrounds. All of them have various modalities, but the one commonality I found is yoga. So yoga is universally myelinating for the vagus nerve. It's such that because the vagus nerve goes behind the eyes, because it goes from the occipital bone all the way down the tailbone, and because yoga's the modalities of yoga, the chanting, the drishti, the stretching of the psoas. The psoas is actually very, very important in helping the vagus nerve. So when we release the psoas, the hips, the spine, all of it, it helps to regulate the vagus nerve and get us balanced.
All the pranayamas and
Right. Yeah.
I always try to recommend to all my clients to do yoga. And they think in their minds that it's just like some kind of stretching thing, or like, well, why don't I do Pilates? It's like, that's not what it's actually about.
Right.
It's all about the nervous system. That's what the yogis were trying to figure out, is how to balance and regulate the nervous system and be healthy with your nervous system, so that you could sit in these longer postures and go deeper and deeper into the consciousness.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were saying that you were telling me that when you started doing yoga, it was like the same thing for you, right? Where you're like, holy shit, Like, I
because
get
at
it.
first I would make fun of anything I make fun of. I end up eating my words usually.
Were you making fun of it?
Yeah, because I didn't know anything at the time. And my clients that were going to hot yoga. And I didn't really know much about it. And I was like, well, why are you wasting energy when you could be recovering and you could lift more weights? Or you could be doing sprints. And there's like classes with mirrors and like people are like trying to look super sexy or whatever. But then
they weren't trying to look super sexy. You're like, look at those. They're like beautiful women. He's like, look at those chicks trying to look all sexy.
People go into these classes and are super dressed up. And
yeah,
it's like,
that's true.
It's a fitness class. That's what true. I thought. And I was like, why are you wasting your time? I don't know. And then I took some of my first yoga classes. There were yin with a woman who was used to be a Buddhist nun. She was a Buddhist nun for like 4 years. She also had a cognitive behavioral like PhD.
Oh, that's nice.
And she had a course where she taught the 8 limbs of yoga.
Oh, I love that.
And I was like, oh, this is what it's about. And as we would do yin yoga too, she would take us through cognitive behavioral therapy.
Oh
She'd
my
make
gosh.
you be aware of your feelings and like,
oh, I love that.
I was like crying in class the first time and like releasing all this stuff. I was like, oh shit, this is crazy.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah. Yoga. Yeah.
It's a science, everybody. This
is
isn't, it's not, this is not woo-woo. This is not fluff stuff. This is a science. And just like the Egyptian, I don't know much about the Egyptian culture, but the fact that they understood how to build pyramids, for instance, and the fact that they knew how to do calendars based on the sun or whatever. There's some ancient wisdom that was baked into this beautiful tradition called yoga. And yoga is not just the physical practices, by the way. So you don't have to be flexible. You don't have to be skinny or whatever. You don't have to wear yoga pants. You just have to show up on a mat and give 5 minutes of your day, even just 5 minutes every morning is enough yoga so that you can reap the benefits of getting what Brent was just talking about, like a balanced nervous system, emotional releasing, and all that stuff. It's so good. I think that's why it's getting more popular. Thank goodness. People are catching on to how good it feels to just basically have your body, mind, and spirit yoked up. By the way, that's what yoga means, everybody. It's like the yoking of, it feels really good to have your body, mind, and spirit yoked up.
Also, was that book, Breath, the Art and Science of Breathing?
I don't know that book.
It's a compilation of all these different studies of how the perfect breath is 5.5 seconds in and 5.5 seconds out. There's like parts talking about, if they give more carbon dioxide to people, it releases, like lowers their anxiety and all these different things, and that this perfect breath found in all these different cultures is like the way to breathe. And the part of yoga is by your connecting your breath to these movements,
right? Using
your nasal, and we know if you breathe through your nose, that's the way to. It's the most efficient, but by breathing through your mouth, that's how you know you're in a stress state. When you keep breathing through your mouth, and you train the length of the breath as well. And as you can get to the place where your breath starts to lengthen on the exhales, and then you leave yoga classes and you start doing it more consistency, you'll notice when you get stressed, you'll start breathing through your nose to calm your own nervous system.
Yeah.
You'll start to use your breath without even thinking about it, right? And it's the autonomic nervous system where you can take over, but then if you don't think about it, your body takes over. You can go back and forth. So you literally, through breath, can tap into your own nervous system.
Yeah.
And that's, if you want to regulate hormones in your health and your sleep, you can't get around helping anything if you don't do that.
Yeah.
You have to do that.
Right. Yeah. Autoimmune issues, by the way, what I was dealing with, lupus and alopecia, autoimmunity is part of the reason when you have autoimmune issues, why they give you excess cortisol shots, they give you corticosteroids, because it's a cortisol resistance. What does that mean? Just like with insulin resistance, if you have too much sugar, your body's resistant to it. So if you have autoimmune issues, it means your body is having cortisol resistance. That means excess cortisol. That means you've been in such a state of hyper stress that your body literally is not registering the cortisol that's flowing through your blood. It means you've been in fight or flight for probably about 5 years. And then eventually your body says, I don't know how to deal with this cortisol. So that's why autoimmune issues, if you have that, if anybody listening is dealing with autoimmune issues, get to yoga class. Go get some yoga and do the ujjayi breathing like Brent was just talking about so that your hormones are balanced.
At the risk of going too deep down this rabbit hole, I'm really interested in the vagus nerve myelination that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Other than yoga, what are some other ways that you can work to myelinate your vagus nerve?
Yeah. So, okay. So let's start with easy tips. So
to 5 top tips.
Top 5 tips. I'm just going to give a couple tips off the cuff. So mantra and sound and humming. So some people are a little bit averse to mantra because it sounds too hippy dippy. But if you cover your ears, anything that gets the skull kind of vibrating. So if you cover your ears and do the honeybee hum, like, I know that seems kind of weird, but that actually does innervate it innervates the vagus nerve.
Okay.
And any humming does that. Also, anything that gets the eye past the midline of the body. This is why it's so stressful to be on our devices. Part of the reason is because we're not meant to just look straight ahead. We're actually, as human beings, we're meant to be looking over our shoulder. So some of when I studied with Dr. Ariel Schwartz for polyvagal and yoga, basically she was really honing in on getting the eyes past the midline. So this is why the twisting postures in yoga are so great. So for instance, just the bounded, seated, over the shoulder, kind of twisting motions. And if you're not going to be doing yoga, if you sit at your desk, you might have seen this. Everybody who's watching might have seen this, but maybe you haven't, where you tilt your head to one side, you look your eye up to the corner of the ceiling, and you stay looking there for about 30 to 60 seconds. So that actually also gets the vagus nerve kind of in action. Have you heard of that?
Not of that specifically, but Huberman has talked about this sort of like shifting the eyes from as far right to as far left.
Yeah. So if you're talking about the eye movements, there's so many different ways to hit it, and a really good idea is to hit that vagus nerve on different planes. So tilting the head and doing the eye movement to the opposite corner of the room, and then putting your head upright, just normal at basic 0 level, 0 degrees, and then hands behind your head right under the occipital bone. You don't move your nose. Keep your nose straight ahead, and then you move your eyes. You look over to the right, and you keep it there until you experience a yawn, a sigh, or a swallow. Because when your vagus nerve is getting activated, when you're relaxed, you're sighing, you're going to yawn, and you will find a release. You can also do this laying down. It's hard to demo this, but if you're laying down and you have your hands behind your occipital bone and you move your eyes that way, it also can help if you raise your hips. So put a pillow under your hips. That also helps to kind of tilt the spine in alignment. And then the last thing that I wanted to offer is stuff with the ears. So there's skin behind the ears. And if you just basically massage behind the ears, that can actually help to settle the vagus nerve and settle the nervous system. These are all just little tricks that when you stack them up, it really does make a difference. I know all of this stuff sounds so weird and out there, but if you give it a chance, open your heart, everybody, and just try it, you'll probably notice that it happens pretty quickly, that you're a little more regulated.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I mean, the body is so good at regulating itself if you give it the right tools.
Yeah.
So all these little tips and tricks, they make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And also if you stop messing with it. Like Michael Singer says, get your stop, don't touch it. More than the vagus nerve stuff, this is, in my opinion, like the vagus nerve stuff is so important, but more than the vagus nerve stuff is stop putting your hand in the water. Stop mucking it up. It's really easy to just take a look at what you're doing in your life that's stressing you out and just stop it. And that's what yoga is about for me too, is like mindfulness, the samskaras, seeing the samskaras for what they are, and saying like, oh, I have a habit of dating people who make me feel like shit. Like maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Like maybe don't date the people that stress you out. Maybe don't do the thing that stresses you out. Maybe don't stay up until 4 a.m. watching political news and stuff.
Yeah, you could do as much yoga, but if you keep putting inputs in that stress you out.
You just have a giant hole in your bucket to keep trying to fill it.
Exactly.
It's just pouring out.
It doesn't matter all the eye movements and all the ear massages. It's not going to help.
Yeah, there's a big difference between your self-induced stress and just like life stress. Like if you're at work, like you can't just, I guess you can quit your job, but like sometimes you have to be stressed. stressed to a degree.
Yeah.
And that's where these tools can come into play.
Yes.
And you can regulate yourself. But
right.
yeah, like you said, stay up late watching political news or falling into the same relationship patterns that are stressing you out. Like those are things you have full control over.
Right.
You got to stop doing those things.
Yeah. And thoughts too.
Yeah.
Thoughts, the beliefs that we take for granted, the beliefs that we don't understand that we have even. Sometimes you might have beliefs. This is why I love yoga too, because it helps you to be mindful. It helps you to witness what you're thinking. And sometimes you have beliefs that you're just taking for granted and they're not even, you haven't even questioned whether or not it's true. So those beliefs, if you have toxic beliefs, that's stressful also.
That's, I think, why, doing yoga so you can become mindful is the first step.
Yeah.
If you cannot become mindful, you cannot see your thoughts.
Right.
And if you cannot see your thoughts, you cannot change your thoughts.
Right.
You'll just be running around trying all these different things, but then you have this tape playing in your head that keeps redirecting you back to the old stuff.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to access them to see them or separate yourself, which is why psychedelics can be potentially very beneficial if you integrate it with tools, because it gives you that separation.
Yeah.
It can give you that like shift. And that's why sometimes it can be really intense for people. That shift's so big and they've never seen it before. And they're like, oh my God, what have I been doing for 30 fucking years? Now I got to puke in a bucket because this is so fucking intense. Right? And it's one way to rotor-rooter some of that stuff. But
yeah, psychedelics helped me a lot with the clinical depression thing too. My healing process was multi-pronged, and that was a big part of it too, microdosing. I have a really sensitive constitution, so I can't drink alcohol. I don't have any vices at all, and I can't do the party thing, so I'm not like a recreational like drug user, but I do like psychedelics as a medicine, and psilocybin did help me a lot. And a couple big doses. I don't love those big doses, but microdosing was also very, very helpful, and I highly recommend it for anybody who's dealing with depression or anxiety. Microdosing can be very helpful.
what were some of your first experiences? How did you kind of decide to start microdosing?
Because I just could feel that there was a little something that I couldn't see. You can't see what you can't see. You can't know what you don't know. And I could just see that there were some blind spots clearly that needed some airing out. There were some cobwebs back there somewhere that I was not able to see from my vantage point. And so I think you have to do lots of meditation, lots of mindfulness. And then at a certain point, if you find that you're still a little bit stuck in certain areas, which I saw that there were a couple little sticky points where, okay, that's the time to probably employ a little bit of medicine. So another thing about my brain chemistry, because of my childhood and because my childhood was super traumatic, my brain chemistry, it was kind of, thank God that I had a great mom, by the way. My mom's probably going to be listening to this. My mom was like the one shining light in my childhood. But
shout out to Brenda's mom.
Yeah. Thanks, Mom.
We love you, Brenda's mom.
Thanks, Mom. But a lot of the rest of my childhood was chaotic, very traumatic. So my brain chemistry was already set up. It was kind of baked in the cake, the suffering and basically it was baked in the cake, the anxiety and the depression and the negative filters. And so you can only go so far with the mindfulness and meditation, all that stuff. Now I studied about this too. I did some self-studying about psychedelics and psilocybin and what it does to your brain. And so there are certain highways that people that have depression and anxiety, we just don't have those bridges fully connected, that taking psilocybin can help us to build new networks in our brain. And so if you're struggling with depression and anxiety and you're feeling like you're banging your head against the wall and you're not getting anywhere, it might be a good time to just explore. There's professionals who help with this now, thank God. It's getting more mainstream. It might be a good idea to explore what you can do with psychedelics, because the psychedelics, psilocybin and LSD, and even I've heard MDMA does this too. Mm-hmm. They can help you to build new networks in your brain, to get your brain hemispheres talking together and friendly. And I noticed that really did happen for me, where once you experience that, oh, this is what a normal brain chemistry feels like. It's like visiting a place. Now you know it exists. Now you know what's possible. Now it's almost kind of like you can't look back. So thank God I haven't had any depression or anxiety for the past 10 years since my spiritual awakening, but the psilocybin really did help to kick me over into like a complete kind of reset. So I'm really grateful for plant medicine. I haven't done ayahuasca though. And to be honest, my spirit guides, who I have a direct relationship with, by the way, I'm going to go all the way out there. I'm completely woo-woo, but I have spirit guides and they tell me whether or not something is guided. And ayahuasca doesn't, just for right now, and probably for the foreseeable future, it just isn't part of my path.
That's the key, honestly, is you definitely, ayahuasca is very intense. And if you are doing it because someone influenced you to do it, and it doesn't come from this deep, like, I need to do it, you definitely should not do it because you could definitely traumatize the shit out of yourself. And as these tools come more accessible, if you're not doing yoga and yoga nidra or going on walks and doing all these other things, and then you throw yourself into something that intense, you will bring up so much stuff. It will make your life fucking crazy.
Yeah. Have you done it?
A couple times, yeah.
What did you think?
It's amazing. But I'm also one of those people, I'm a little bit of like a anthropologist. I kind of want to experience different things around the world, different cultures, how they do things. And I'm an explorer. And so I've done it on 3 different ways, like very traditional to kind of like hybrid to like microdose workshop type. And they were all very different. But I can see the one where you go into the jungle and it's very traditional is like, that is for people that are wanting to do, like, you're a war veteran and you saw some stuff and nothing is pulling those demons out. That. But I think all the like potential like hybrid stuff actually is better for most people. Yeah. Like people doing like, that are pretty trained doing a low dose mushroom ceremony and they're holding space. That's just as profound, if not sometimes more profound. Yeah. Right? Because also you got to remember, these cultures are coming from a way different culture. Right. So some of the shock and the intensity is from going deep into a place that already is so radically different for your brain and body that it's such a crazy shift that it can flip your reality a lot, and it can mess with people's brains. Right. Where it's like, you don't live in that world. Right. It's a different world. Most people live a lot of them in the jungle. They're already in tune on another level already. Yeah. Like just living in the jungle for a year, that already would be a psychedelic experience for most people. Yeah. And then coming back to the US and seeing all the brands and the media and the phone, like all this. I think recently Russia brought a bunch of North Koreans over to go onto the front line of Ukraine, and all of them are addicted to porn because they've never had phones. Oh, and so the first time, their brains can literally not handle it.
Yeah, there's way too much dopamine in one place.
They're just like, holy shit. That's so funny. It's the flip. It's like you've never been so in tune with nature. And all. So, but again, listen to yourself and follow that path, and you'll go wherever you need to be. Just never be pressured into something. You should never, ever. With psychedelics, it should definitely be a want. And then do research.
Especially ayahuasca. She'll tell you if it's time. Yeah. Like there will be signs. It'll be very clear, very abundant, and you'll feel it inside you that it's time to do it. Because I'm in your boat. I haven't sat with Aya.
It's like big wave surfing.
It is. Like there's been like little moments where it's like, oh, maybe that's something for me. But I haven't felt the calling, and I'm like, I just don't see that that's where my soul wants to go right now. Yeah. Right.
I see a lot of opportunity, and if they legalize MDMA, doing MDMA therapy like IV. In like a clinical setting, I think will have one of the most profound effects on our society.
That will be huge
because it's a different kind of. It's considered a psychedelic from what I understand, but it's different in that you get to have all these really positive. Like sometimes people get into a depression because they just literally haven't felt any relief in a while. Yeah. And sometimes that one shift in feeling love for the first time. Yeah. Just lets them purge everything and it shifts. One time, an ex-girlfriend of mine, we brought one of her friends who was extremely depressed. She posted on something Twitter years ago and everyone said she was racist and she wasn't. And she was just like almost contemplating killing herself.
Oh my goodness.
So we went to a pop-up Avicii grave that we found in Seattle. And she took MDMA with us for the first time. And she's like, this is the first time in like 4 years I felt joy. And she was crying and it completely shifted her reality forever.
Some people have a hard time getting there. So here's where I am at with kind of life and thank God I had a spiritual awakening, but what I heard, like Maharishi and all the great teachers talking about how love is here now. Love is here now. And it's really easy to hear that and be like, yeah, but I can't fucking feel it. But if you give yourself five minutes, 10 minutes, or even an hour in the morning to just sit quietly, and this is why I love meditation so much, almost to the point where I could sit for hours in meditation, you can feel that love now, always, now. It's right here and right now. It's always available now. Of course, like I said, there's some times where it's hard to get there, where it's hard to feel it. But this present moment, right now, in this moment, is always loving, always. And anybody who's listening and feeling like they have to go and do ayahuasca in the jungle in order to feel love, or they have to do MDMA to feel love, it's not hyperbolic. It's not some fluffy idea. This isn't some hippy-dippy idea. The whole point of this entire existence, everybody, is that you are love. I am that I am. You are love. You are love, and you are loved, and you are loved, and you are loved, and you are loved. And this moment is giving you love. Every moment of your life, you are given so much love if you would just let it in. So I guess it's not easy for everybody to feel that and experience that. But again, this is why we do the practices. But eventually, if you just choose, there's another thing in the Course in Miracles that says I can choose peace instead of this. So basically, you can choose peace, and you can always feel the love of God, of the divine beloved, in this moment. When I hear stories about your friend that she wasn't feeling love and she hadn't felt it in a long time, that's so tragic, and I hate that. But she could.
No, for sure. It is accessible.
Yeah.
It is accessible. It's just sometimes people have trouble because they're busy. They haven't come across the things they need to do.
Yeah.
They don't have the discipline, or just life is just constantly going at them all times.
Yeah.
And it's their mindset. It's telling that they're in this perpetual cycle of, I don't deserve it. I can't have it. It's not for me. So then, you just continue to tell yourself that you can't be loved. You don't have love. There's no love around you.
Yeah.
And the MDMA, it could have been anything. It could have been, maybe she didn't even need the MDMA. Maybe it was just literally going to the show with you.
Or
MDMA
going skydiving.
Or going skydiving.
Yeah.
Anything that you need a pattern interrupt, because you get stuck in this pattern, this loop, and you go and you go and you go. You just need something to break that pattern and get you out of it. And that's why psychedelics can be that, because sometimes it's hard to create some kind of environment that fully shocks your system out of that. And when you use psychedelics the right way, it can be a good catalyst for that.
It can.
Here's a perfect example. I don't remember what I was listening to, but they said that a certain amount of people have jumped off the San Francisco bridge, and there's a percentage of people that survive. And 100% of people who survived said the second they jumped, they wish they did it.
Yeah.
And so you can see that's all that needed to actually happen was that interrupt, like you're talking about.
The only thing that's real. So this is what I would say to those people who are struggling, because I'm hoping that nobody listening to this is in that position that you were just saying, where but I've been in that position where nothing feels like it has any light to it.
Yeah.
And you're just in a dark place, and you're like, yeah, that all sounds great, but I'm not feeling the fucking love right now. So if you're feeling like that, I want you to just know, and just this is the antidote. This is it. Anything that's going on in your mind that isn't positive is complete nonsense. The thoughts that you're having that are negative, they're not born of truth. In this world, anything that's not of light and love, it's just not true. So there's one reality. There's only one thing that's real I was going to say in my opinion, but I'm not even going to qualify this. There's only one thing that's real, and that's love. That's it. So anything that's not love, it's not ultimately real. So a lot of us torture ourselves with all of these reasons we have to be miserable, and we think, I have to be unhappy because this is happening. And if I don't have this unhappiness in my life, then XYZ, unhappiness is my motivator. Unhappiness is, it's keeping me safe. Unhappiness, this and that. But there's another way to do this, and it's love is the only thing that's true, and everything else is an illusion, basically. And so that's kind of the most liberating idea once you really get it, once you really open your heart to that. Like, maybe my thoughts aren't right. Maybe it's not true that I have to be miserable today. Maybe it's not true that the world is going to hell in a handbasket. Just maybe.
So to play devil's advocate, though, because I'm curious, like, how we can go deeper on that too.
Yeah.
Say you're in a position, there's abuse in their life. There's something that like you can very easily say, this is not love. Like how can this be love? It's something just tragic, horrible. You're in some kind of internment camp, like something horrendous, right? How can someone still tap into understanding that it is love, and what's the logic behind that?
Yeah, Viktor Frankl is a really good example of this.
Book.
Great book. And that's what the whole thing was. Man's Search for Meaning. So what it is there's a bunch of shit that happens to us. I'm definitely not telling you like that things aren't going to happen. Life is going to life. We're going to have experiences. We're going to have challenges. But on the undercurrent of all that, we have agency, we have choice, we have this thing called free will. And I think the best use of that free will is to choose to believe and to know that everything that happens to us is for our highest good. And so sometimes we find ourselves in relationships that are very unsavory, for instance. What's the opportunity here? What's the truth here? What's the deeper meaning here? Not I'm a victim, not this is happening to me. There's something beautiful and ineffable in every situation. Even if it looks really, really terrible, there's always an opportunity here. So Viktor Frankl's example, that was one of the greatest tragedies in all of human history. And he used that as a way to really dig into the truest part of himself and dig into, there's a part of him that was untouchable, and that part is untouchable in all of us. So that's what I'm talking about. The only thing that's real is that part of you that cannot be touched by life's trials and tribulations. There's a part of you that can't be touched by any of it. And when you live from that part, then you win by default. Then you're free.
There's something that you experience in your life, I think, goes really well with this if you're open to talking about it.
Sure. I'm an open book.
Your sister passing?
Yeah.
I'd love for you to maybe talk about that a little bit and your experience with grief and, moving through that.
Yeah, my sister was born when I was 13, and I was like her second mom, and I babysat her, and she was my best friend, and she was the sun to my moon, and she was my soulmate, and I was going to be an aunt to her kids and all of this stuff. And she passed away last August, and I got a call at the end of my meditation, literally at the end of my meditation. My mom called, and she said, ultimate plot twist in my life, Alyssa's dead. And if you had asked me, bet $10 million what might happen in your life, that would have been the last thing that I ever imagined. And to back up a little bit, I always follow Divine Beloved. Divine Beloved told me in March of last year, to go to Sedona and go to Suzanne Giesemann. I love Suzanne Giesemann. Go to her training for mediumship. I have no interest in being a medium. I had no idea why I was going to this thing to converse with loved ones on the other side. But I go, I take my marching orders. So anyway, my sister passed away in August, and then all in a second, it made perfect sense. It like all came crashing. It was like the worst moment of my life, and it still will always be the worst moment of my life. And anyway, my sister passed away unexpectedly. We still don't know what exactly happened. I think it has something to do with, I don't want to get this video flagged, but I think it has something to do with certain, I'm not a conspiracy theorist by any stretch, but it just seems to coincide with certain jabs. And that's the best thing that we can come up with. She just dropped dead at 24 years old out of nowhere.
Wow. And they still couldn't figure out why.
No, the coroner's report came back and there was just
they have no
nothing.
Theories at all.
No, her heart was a little bit inflamed. So yeah. So that's
you don't got to tell us.
Yeah. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there's just
we are, so it's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, nowadays conspiracy theories are not really that crazy.
Yeah.
No, they've all been kind of proven to be true.
Yeah.
Not all, but a lot of them.
But so things are going to happen like that.
Right.
And also my dog, in June, he was 2 and he died suddenly of a heart thing. He just dropped dead. I came home. And
2 years old.
2 years old. Wow. He was a little light in my life. And I came home and he said, "Hey, Mom, I'm so fucking happy to see you." And then he fell over and then he died. So again, life gives us we're going to lose things. And basically, when I'm talking about that part of us that's ineffable and untouched by life, what I mean is also we're going to have to let go throughout our life of everything that we love. And the ego hates that. But if you really open I'm not sitting here high and joyful and happy about the fact that my sister's not here in body anymore. However, there's a part of me that if I didn't have these tools, I wouldn't have been able to make it. There's just way too much sadness there. It's way too much. It's way too much. So you can't just cling to what's happening here in this moment and the coming and going of the form and all of that stuff. There's something deeper that I have to abide in to make it through this experience, because it's all, it's all. It will never stop. You're going to lose things, and there's still a joy behind all of it, though. And also being okay with the sadness, because there's a suchness to life. And another thing about depression and anxiety is not being okay with feeling things. So what I found is it's okay that I'm really sad about my sister not being here. And it's okay that there's so much pain I can't even describe it to you. It's okay. It's totally fine to be like. And a lot of people will be like, but, it's not okay. And I don't want to feel like this. Well, I feel like this, And here it is. And it's kind of beautiful, because it means that I love my sister so much. I didn't even know how much I loved her until she was gone.
Right.
And oh my God, how beautiful. What a beautiful love that I will cherish it for eternity. There's no extinguishing this love. But I couldn't, if you don't have your heart fully open to the sadness and the grief, you can't fully feel that. Like the effervescence of my sister, I feel her, the effervescence of my little sister and how much I loved her. There's like a high to it. So I accept all of it. I'm like here with open arms, just come on, baby. Give me grief, give me sadness, give me pain, give me joy, give me love, give me all of it.
That first yoga teacher I had would always say, in life, there are 2x4s coming for you that are going to smack you in the face. And you don't know when they're going to happen, but they definitely are going to happen. For all of us. Things that you would never think are going to happen. And that's why these things are important. Because they're going to happen. And inevitably, we will all pass. And 100 years from now, everybody listening to this, us, like everybody the person you bought tacos from today, all the people you see at the gym, we're all gone.
The form.
Form is gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is a blessing when you look at it, because it gives you this perspective on life. I mean, the acceptance is so important that you talked about, just allowing that in and to feel the emotion, because we're emotional creatures. We're supposed to feel like that's living, that's alive. If you weren't sad in a sad moment, then you're probably dead.
Right.
So it's probably a good thing that you're feeling that. And when you have something like this that happens, it tempers you to a degree. So you're better prepped for it. Like I lost my dad when I was really young, and I found that it, probably similar to your experience with your sister, you're more prepared for other traumatic things that can happen because you've been through the fire once before. And there's no avoiding trauma in your life. It's going to happen, right? So when you can temper yourself and accept that you're going to feel those emotions, you're more prepared to move through those fires and those flames later on, because you just can't avoid them. Do you feel like you talked? Do you feel like you're in touch? Do you feel like he's still around? Do you feel his essence? I did. I did. I feel like I was 9 when he passed. So I felt his essence a lot more back then. And maybe that's just me being a bit out of touch now and just being busy and not being as tapped in as I would like or as I should be. But I know he's still there. I know he's still with me. Things will happen throughout my day and I'm like, that's a very dad thing. Like he's a little prankster. So sometimes like goofy things will happen. I'm like, he's pranking me from across. But the frequency of that has been less so over the last few years.
It might also be, this is something Suzanne Giesemann talks about, it might also be that he's so around and he's so there that it's almost like you can't even discern it. It's like you don't notice you have hair on your head because it's there all the time.
Right.
So it might be that too. I think that's more likely. I think that happens a lot with those loved ones that we lose, is they're so around, we want to feel them, but we just don't notice that we can feel them. If they stepped out of our field, we would feel the difference.
Right.
But
you touch your head and you're like, I don't have any hair left. Yeah, you would notice.
Right.
Do you have a particular sign to know when your sister's around?
I just feel her.
You just feel her.
Yeah, when she passed away, I had this transcendent mystical experience where I was in so much pain and so much grief. I can't even it's a physical, it's like a physical pain. It's worse. You could hit me with 5 Mack trucks and it would have been like, this is nothing. Yeah. It's a deep pain. But I was out for a walk, just like in a daze, and it was sunset, and the sun was just going through the trees, and it was on the water on Town Lake, and it was this beautiful feeling of just like peace. It just enveloped me, and I can't explain how I know it, but I knew she was in the sun on my skin, and it was so transcendent.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah.
Then you returned to YouTube.
Yeah. I'd actually been on YouTube before she passed. And yeah, so I went on YouTube. I started back on YouTube in 2021. I think in 2021. I'm still getting, what's funny? I still get people from my audience being like, oh my God, you're back. And I'm like, I've been back since 2021. The algorithm just doesn't show my shit anymore. I'm actually in this awkward phase, by the way, where I've made this huge pivot because I have no interest in talking about health and fitness anymore. I just don't. It's not who I am anymore. And
I resonate.
Okay. We should talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Sure, let's talk about it. Okay. Let's talk about it.
We got time. Talk about it.
Let's talk about it because I don't want to talk about health and fitness because I not because it's not valuable. I don't want to talk about it anymore because it's just a natural byproduct of all this other stuff. And if you're mindful, if you're doing yoga, if you're meditating, you're going to eat healthy and you're going to be fine. And I don't want to talk about how to make your butt look better. I don't want to talk about how to make your abs look sexy. I don't give a shit about those last 15 pounds. And I don't want other women to give a shit about it anymore either. I was really good about not contributing to the diet culture and the unhealthy parts of all of it, but I just don't think it's needed anymore. It's not important to me anymore. It might be important to other people, but it's just not important to me.
It's level 1 stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for me, doing it for so long, when you're first doing it, you're trying to master helping people.
Right.
And I feel like I resonate with your arc because I feel like I had a similar arc.
We did, totally.
And as you're trying to help people, you're like, okay, well, there's a physical component. You're like, I wrote you a diet plan and a workout plan. Why isn't this working?
Right.
Like, I don't understand. Right. And then you're like, okay, well, maybe there's like a mental piece to it. And you start studying the mental part and like sports psychology.
Oh, it's actually all mental.
Visualization. And then you're like, oh, wait, there's an emotional component. Okay, so you're emotional. And then you eventually lead to kind of the bigger, grander side of everything. And then you're like, whatever. So
right.
I still love training people to a degree, and I think I'll always do it kind of because I love the flow state of doing it.
Yeah.
But it's not challenging anymore. There's no more mastery in it for me. Yeah. And I don't really want to go online because it drives me insane. Podcasting's fine, but it's like how many conversations about fucking how, I don't know, nutrient tests or fucking your poop tests or like, there's so many podcasts. Like, I don't give a fuck.
I don't either. And
yeah. I don't
you know what it all boils down to is what I just said. If you meditate, if you be mindful, if you go to yoga class, you're going to be fine. And your body's going to look
lift
awesome.
Weights and
lift weights. And your body's going to look awesome. Just stop eating the bullshit. It's real simple. You don't have to obsess about all this shit. Just
the shift has changed. For all the 20-year-olds now, it's like posting stuff. Great. You guys take the reins and have fun. Video yourself all day with your Bluetooth mics in the gym. It's like, I don't care. Like, people are always like, you should make tutorial videos. Like, even with my ebook, they're like, you should make tutorial videos. I'm like, literally type in fucking squat into YouTube or Instagram, and there will be 700 billion videos of how to do it. If you can't, when we were around, like, there was no access. You had to look at a book and try to figure out from 2 pictures, the bottom position and the top position, how to fucking do this exercise. You're telling me you're that lazy? I need to. And there's already millions of tutorial videos. Put a little work in.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just not that interesting anymore.
Yeah.
That's why I love podcasting, because it's like a video game that's endless.
Yeah.
The endless amount of people I can learn from, endless amount of conversations I can have, endless amount of feeling of flow state I can have with, and that's why I train people. Is like, I love the high of the flow state of helping people get things to click and seeing them get stronger and seeing the shift change and just holding space for them to be able to come to those realizations. But it's just like, it's one piece now. Yeah. There's so much more.
Yeah, so much more. I go right into the way that I like to live my life. And even when I was depressed and anxious, one thing I will give myself a lot of credit for is I go into the resistance and I go into what scares the shit out of me and I go into what's uncomfortable. And that's kind of where my happy place is. So again, like right now, I can't think of anything that would make me feel more safe and comfy than getting up and doing a bunch of cooking videos and like I'm really great at all that shit. And I've already mastered it. I can do that.
You could build an insane brand for what you've done. You know the cadence, you know the protocol, you know exactly what you need to do, you know how to post like
food,
everything.
Photography,
you could be
100
billion. You could have a brand. You could have shirts. You could have clothes. You could have books.
Yeah, no interest.
But are you fulfilled?
Right,
is the question.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right. Exactly. Guy Hendricks, he's a really good author, and he says to live in your zone of genius, and the zone of genius feels really good. And so when things stop feeling really good for me, I just don't do it anymore. And so if my soul and the divine beloved says, "Hey, walk around Town Lake for like 6 years without a plan," I'm going to go ahead and do that. I know it doesn't seem practical, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. So anyway, now I'm teaching women about prosperity and about how to do their deep work in the world. Deep work is another huge thing I'm passionate about, is showing up and doing your deep work, whatever that is at the moment. And there's all these women. I did a pilot program and I said, hey, I'm doing this program to help women to start doing what I've done the past 15 years. I really love all this stuff, the marketing aspect and the creative process. And I had a bunch of women join, and to my surprise, there's so many. Even in my own life, I haven't met a single person who couldn't do this stuff, who couldn't monetize some form of a hobby or a passion and turn it into a little business. And there's no reason in 2024, if you have a passion or a calling, that you wouldn't be able to do that, to make it a lifestyle and to stop trading your time for money. So I'm really passionate about helping people do that, not for money, but for the fact that it gives you time freedom and freedom of expression and going into that resistance. By the way, a lot of people aren't doing this because they're scared shitless.
I feel like that's a lot of people.
Most people.
This is perfect. I have a client right now starting to post fashion stuff, really into it.
I love
She's
it.
slowly starting to get less scared, starting to finally, after a year, kind of post stuff.
Awesome.
You know, her kids are grown up, they're moving out of the house, so she's trying to find something that she can like pour herself into. And she's a natural. How does she begin to build that more? What are some of the ways she should shift her mindset and think about, you know, giving herself into that and actually being like, let's see where this can go, and even monetizing it?
Yeah. So so first of all, you have to get rid of the gremlin and do something called Tame the Gremlin. There's a great book called Taming Your Gremlin by Rick Carson that changed my life a long time ago. So you anthropomorphize your ego by calling it a gremlin. And you notice that your gremlin is going to say all kinds of bullshit. It's going to say, but you don't have enough makeup on, but you need to lose 10 more pounds. You need to do this, you need to do that. Whatever your gremlin says, stop listening to it and stop feeding your gremlin also. Every time you listen to that little gremlin and you're like, cool, I won't post today. Cool, I won't get my gifts out. You're feeding it. You're giving it steroids. So stop listening to your gremlin and start listening to the quiet, still part of yourself that's saying, hey, maybe I could post about fashion. And just start posting shit. Get out there and start posting your stuff online. Because if you aren't, another thing is be comfortable with failing, because if you don't fail and you don't suck a little bit, you're never going to be able to get that grand vision that's in your mind out into the world. So get comfortable with not being perfect. Stop trying to be perfect. The last thing is, who are you scared of, everybody? Like, who gives a shit? Are you scared that XYT girl isn't going to like your stuff and going to say mean stuff to you? Who cares? Who cares? Does she pay your bills? No, she doesn't pay your bills. So she doesn't have a say. What are you worried about? Just start posting your stuff. Ultimately, the question that we have to ask is, what am I ultimately afraid of? We're ultimately afraid that we're not going to be liked. So stop worrying about being liked and start worrying about helping your people. And from the beginning, that's been very helpful for me, is I've always focused on, who am I helping with this? I did have an achiever thing back there, but I always also did put front and center, okay, who can I help and how can I help them? When you focus on that, it's not so me-centered. There's like a scared little me. The gremlin's like, let's focus on me. How can I look good? How can I get people to like me? Stop listening to that and start going into your soul, which is always saying, how can I give generously? How can I be a contributor to the collective. How can I get my message out there and who can I help? I get really intense with this stuff because it's very important that those people like your friend, your client who wants to express herself in the world, there's an infinite amount of magic that can happen. Who knows what could happen if she just starts posting some stuff every month? The doors that you can open from doing that are incredible. Income doors, career doors, relationship doors, networking. Who knows?
Yeah. If you put out there, you never know what's going to come back. Yeah. That's how I feel with like this podcast is I know it's going to be rough. And anybody who starts anything creatively, video, photos, whatever, it's going to be fucking rough. You're going to look at pictures of yourself.
Your first draft is supposed to suck.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God. I
and it doesn't suck.
English.
You guys are great, by the way.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of like, if you put something out, it's supposed to be sloppy.
Yeah.
Like if
fine.
you wait till it's perfect, you'll just never put it out.
Right.
And that's how you learn. And that's the fun part. The fun part is doing it in a sloppy way.
Right.
But to your point, like not caring what other people think, which is hard to do. That we're creatures that are built on other people's opinions, like from the tribal days. It's so hard to not care.
It's pretty easy for me to not give a shit because and you too probably, because what you've been through, you mentioned about your dad. Mm-hmm. It's not just my sister's passing, but just like my childhood. Like you cannot fuck with me, my friends.
Become unfuckwithable.
What I've been through and all the stuff in my life. I want everybody who's listening and hesitating, just think about what you've overcome in your life. Yeah. And then think about all the things that we've all overcome, all these big, huge obstacles. And then you're worried about a comment or somebody not liking your stuff. Who cares?
Yeah, especially if you're going to do anything online, you're getting haters.
Oh, yeah.
There's no avoiding, like, we do nothing controversial really on this podcast.
Do you guys have haters?
And people are still going to be like, fuck those guys. Like,
we're thinking about
do nothing.
Way, really?
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's a good sign if people hate
I love it.
It's good.
Oh, we troll them. We troll them right back.
You should be polarizing. If you're not polarizing, then
we talk shit.
We're going to start doing at the beginning of certain episodes, we're going to read them.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I think it's going to be awesome.
That's good.
Yeah, we should read it. Comments from the haters.
And then it creates a perpetual content machine because more people are going to hate on it and then you get more comments to read.
It's kind of like how comedians love to be roasted by their former partner. It feels like we're getting roasted, so it just makes us laugh.
That's
it's like hecklers. And a good comedian has fun with a heckler.
And it's a good way of, like they say in comedy, if you can't take a joke and the more intense it gets, you're like in your ego.
Right.
And it's a good way of letting go.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Letting go.
Laugh at yourself.
Yeah, you got to laugh at yourself.
I had a mentor share this with me once. I think it's kind of a cool tactical tool that you can use if you're like really stuck in caring what other people think. It's like you're going to have people that have their opinions about you. Pick the 3 people in your life that you like that are your advocates.
Oh, I like that.
And they like you're one with them. Maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your sister, maybe it's your brother. And it's like you can care about their opinions.
I like it.
That's it. But you pick those 3 people or 4 people, whatever. Just keep it a small list.
I like it.
You care about their opinions, but I don't give a fuck about anybody else.
That's really good. I like it.
Yeah. It's like a king. He has like his couple people.
You have your advisors.
And I can't pay attention to
anything else. Do you care what other people think? I know. I get the feeling you don't so much. Are you past it?
He definitely does not. I don't think you do.
Well, the fact that you had a mentor, I get the feeling that you maybe do. Like the fact that your mentor kind of worked on that with you. So was that a thing that you were dealing with?
No, this was like a business mentor.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, was he bringing that up with you because that was something you were working on?
Probably. I don't know. This was years ago. I don't remember the context of it. But I think there's a part of me, of course, that still cares what people think.
Okay.
And I think deep down, most people still have that.
Yeah.
But that's a work in progress, right? It's this continued, it's a muscle that continues to be flexed.
How does that manifest for you? Like, what does that do? Like, how does that show up maybe if it's still showing up? It's helpful for people to hear this because you guys are 2 podcasters. You seem real confident.
Totally.
So how does that manifest for you?
Definitely
what does that look like? For you guys, like, how does that, I'm pretty free of it. I'll be honest. I'm pretty free of worrying about what people think of me. I just am, straight up. If I wasn't, I'd be real honest. But I'm wondering how does that show up for you guys?
Good question. I mean, go ahead if you know.
State the question one more time.
How does it show up? How does it show up for you? The fact that you're still worried about what people think. Like, how does it hold you back in your life?
With podcasting, I don't think about it at all.
Well, with anything in your life.
I'll say that Brent is one of the people that cares the least about what people think.
Yeah,
it's very respectful.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I said. I
Brent
feel like
give
he's
a single fuck.
Right, right.
Maybe to my detriment.
Yeah, sometimes, but whatever.
Yeah. I don't really give a fuck, I guess. I guess I really don't.
So what about you?
I don't think it's that bad. Like it's,
Is there something you would be doing?
I'll say no, I live pretty in alignment with what I want to do. I would say it's remnants. Right?
Okay.
I was a very nervous and self-conscious kid. As
No
I think
kidding.
most people, I think a lot of people were.
No kidding.
Right? Very overactive nervous system, just very nervous about everything. I was terrified to talk to women, just terrified of most things. I was a scaredy little kid. And as I got older, obviously, you do scary things, you get used to it, you get tempered. So now I don't really have that, but everybody still has that little seed of their inner child.
Yes.
Right? So like that's still there on occasion, but it really doesn't come out often. And at least now I'm very aware of it. If I do feel myself being like, oh, I'm worrying about being judged by this person or whatever, I can catch it quickly and then rewire it. Because that's all it is just continual rewiring over and over and over again until you no longer have that thought pattern. So yeah, it's like pops up every now and again, like most things.
But it's not influencing your choices.
I wouldn't say it influences my choices. Because if I notice that it is influencing a choice, I'll pause and I'll say, hold on, this isn't me. This isn't in alignment with me. What do I actually want? And I'll take a step back.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Because what I found when I'm with doing this, I had a feeling of this. And I know this from all my friends who have been like, how do you do what you do? Like, teach us how to do what you do.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, step 1, get a camera. Step 2, get in front of it. They're like, oh, no. But so when working with these women, 100% of them had this fear. Well, save for one. One is already on YouTube. She's a doctor. She's great. She already has a YouTube channel. But everybody else, terrified to get online and to be posting. And they don't even realize why.
Right.
And the reason is they're scared of what people are going to think of them.
Totally.
So that is what's holding you back, everybody. If you're not posting and you're not fully expressing yourself and you don't have a business online yet, it's because you're scared of what people are going to think.
100%.
Some of them do actually know. Some of them are like, I'm scared the people I know are going to laugh at me. And I'm like, do they pay your bills? Again, do they pay your bills? No, they don't. So we have to get really clear on what it is that we're afraid of, which is normally most of the time, you're afraid of what people are going to think of you.
Yeah.
And then get to really asking, okay, so what if they laugh at you? Then what? And then what if they think you're ugly? Then what? And what if they think your hair is frizzy? Then what? And you go through the whole thing. And then what? And you come to the realization, you come to always the end point is nothing.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
You follow worst case scenario down and you're like,
doesn't matter.
My life is fine.
Doesn't matter.
I'll say this because you were asking how it manifests.
Yeah.
It's not an issue now, but when we first started podcasting, and I'm a theater nerd too.
Oh, are you really?
So I'm used to being
Were you in a
on
play?
stage. I was on plays, commercials, all that stuff.
Oh my God, you were in commercials too?
Yeah. So, but it's been a long time since I've been on camera. Okay. And so when we first started the podcast, now it's not an issue because we're 50 episodes deep and you get used to it and you get comfortable. But our first couple episodes, I was very aware of the camera and of the screen and oh, how's my posture? Do I look show my good side? And do I look, am I slouched? So you become very aware of that because you're wondering about the perception of how people are looking back at this footage.
Right.
So that kind of came up as we started.
Yeah.
But now I don't give a fuck.
That's good. That's really good. It's good to be free, isn't it?
And I share that so that other people can hear that too and know you're going to be nervous.
Yeah.
You're going to be scared. You're going to care what people think if you put yourself out there, but you just keep fucking doing it. And you keep reminding yourself that it doesn't matter and do the exercise you talked about where you follow the worst case scenario. Yeah. And you find out that you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Best case scenario, you live a more aligned life that you really want to live. So you weigh the pros and the cons. Why would you get stuck on the cons?
And the thing about what you just said is you're going to feel fear, everybody. It doesn't go away. Sorry for the spoiler alert, but the fear doesn't ever dissipate.
No.
It's always going to be there. You're always going to feel fear. And that's exactly why I like going into the fear because that's actually creating a different relationship with that sensations in your body. Fear is just a sensation happening in your chest and your diaphragm. So there you go. It's a little sensation. You're going to do it anyway. Just feel those sensations and do it anyway. And then post and then move on and keep doing that and doing that. Eventually you'll get used to the fact that, oh, here's some butterflies. Let me go ahead and take action.
And change the perception of it too. You feel fear. Is it fear or is it just excitement that you misinterpreted?
There you go. I like that too. Yeah. I love that. That's right.
Yeah, I was a super, super, super shy kid. Super introverted.
Can you imagine that?
He told me that. I can a little bit, actually. I kind of a little bit can.
So when I first started training people, I was like, oh my God, you're supposed to actually have conversations. Also, I thought I'd just tell you what to do. And I was so awkward for a year or two.
How old were you?
I was 20.
Okay.
And I remember there was a NFL player from Europe NFL player, and he was off the team, but he like got hired and he thought the job was a joke, but I'm a trainer. I'm super serious and I take this so serious and I'm helping people's lives. And he would tease me all the time. He'd be like, bro, you need to fucking relax. Like you need to relax. And he really started to kind of teach me how to kind of relax a little bit. But even I've been doing it for 20 years, I still can get nervous. And I could like, there'd be times when I was
training
young, not anymore, but there can be times where like it took a long time where I would still get nervous every time before I met like a new person or whatnot. Once I'm in it, it's fine. And you get better and better at just like being able to flow and have conversations. So it's like, even if you're a super shy, super nervous person, but you feel called to like, I feel like I have something to say and I want a podcast or I want to write a book, you should do it. And I always say like, fear is the thing that directs me. As I feel fear, the closer you get to it, the more intense it gets. And it's this weird magnetism where it's like, if you can just push through it, there's such an amazing release. And you get to move forward and have bigger and bigger releases. It just keeps growing. Right. And then eventually this, whether it's like making videos yourself, it's normal. Then there's the next thing you keep pushing to. And eventually I get addicted to the high. Like I like the feeling of going through that experience and challenging myself and growing because it's so cool to watch yourself change. Now you don't have to, you can stay where you are. And like you said, we're all love and it's totally fine. But I mean, you're here for such a short period of time. Why not? Why not go for it? Why not?
Yeah, there's nothing to lose. There's no skin in the game, really. There's no skin in this game, ultimately, not really. So
now you're helping women with business.
Yeah.
And you just launched that?
Yeah, I just started. Well, so I had a spiritual community, and all the while I've been selling courses on the, I've had a bunch of different kinds of courses for personal development and wellness. And then I got this thing where everybody was dealing with a recurring pattern, and that was finances. And that constantly came up. And I was like, look, you could start an online business. Look, you've got this skill. Look, you've got this talent. Look, you could make an ebook. There's all kinds of talents and skills. You can monetize anything, really. If you have the internet, if you can talk, type, and think, you can create an online business. That's what Frank Kern said. Do you know who Frank Kern is?
Yeah, he's one of our clients.
Oh, no kidding. Okay, well, I love his work. He actually was very influential before I started doing all this. I studied a lot of his material. So anyway, if you can talk, type, and think, you can make an online business. And so that's what basically I'm focused now. For the foreseeable future. This is where the Divine Beloved wants me focused right now. And so this is what I'm passionate about. And I found that I wasn't sure. I was like, really, business? Am I going to teach about business? And then I was like, let me start writing. Again, I love writing. So I was just writing out, what would I teach? And it was like a fire hose. I have so much to teach after 15 years of doing this stuff that it was so rich with excitement, and I could feel that feeling that I love and I hadn't had in a while, where it was this inspiration, and it's almost a frenetic. There's a frenetic quality to it where I'm almost possessed. And I was to today. There's a pile of papers this thick. It's about 4 inches thick on my desk of just workbooks that I've created for the members that I do have in the. It's called Your First Six Figures. In the Your First Six Figures program, I create all these workbooks and these exercises and things. And so basically, I'm probably going to have a real book. I don't want my first book to be a business book, but anyway, I've got all this material piled up of tools and skills that help purpose-centered women to build their online businesses from start to finish. And that's why it's called Your First Six Figures, by the way. So I'm really, really excited about it. And it's been awesome.
Can you dive into some of the principles that are the key components?
Yeah. So I've put together this thing that I call the 7-phase online profit system. So the 7 phases, these are universal. You let me know what you think. So the 7 phases, number 1 is mindset. I have this little pyramid on my website, by the way. You can take a look at it and write these down, commit these to memory. So mindset is the foundation. If you don't have your mindset right, you're going to sabotage your business over and over again. Right?
True.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what do you have any mindset, any mindset like key mindset things, by the way? Like,
do I have like key philosophies around mindset?
Yeah, for business.
Yeah, sure I do.
Yeah.
Somewhere in my brain.
Okay.
Not accessible at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you have a more structured approach than I do for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, the philosophies for me are like, it's going to suck. It's going to be hard. So choose the suck, like figure out what you want, get the alignment. The mindset piece is very important too. Like you have to start to believe that it's even possible in the first place.
Yeah.
And then learn from your mistakes continually, because you're going to fuck it up. You're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
It's okay to make a mistake one time. You shouldn't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
So it's like, get all your mistakes out early, understand the direction you want to go, and then just fail forward a ton.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sure
I love that.
more in my brain somewhere, but I'm sure you have a more structured approach to it.
Yeah, I love that. The number one thing that I really want to emphasize with the mindset stuff is just you have to make a decision and commitment to all this. If you're not committed, don't even start. If you're not really committed to helping people, it's going to be pointless. So you have to make a decision. You can't have one foot in, one foot out. You have to be all in or it's not going to work. I'm sorry. You just have to commit. And then number 2 is the branding. This is the bones and the skin of your business. This has nothing to do with fonts. This isn't about color schemes. It's your branding. Your branding is what people feel when they go and interact with you online. And number 3 is your free offers. So your free offers is your content, your freebies, your opt-ins, your offerings to the world. Frank Kern says, show people you can help them by helping them. And that was kind of how I've built my business is the free content that you offer. It's your free offers. And this is marketing 101. This is modern marketing. You have to show up for your people and you have to show them you can help them by helping them. If I was to sit across from you guys and be like, okay, I promise I can help you lose weight. Just trust me and give me your money.
Right. What social proof do you have of that?
Versus if I sit across from you and I say, I can help you lose weight. You're going to drink 10 glasses of water tomorrow. Stop eating grains. Start eating broccoli. Eat this chicken breast, check back with me in 10 days after you've lost 8 pounds or whatever. People are going to trust the person who can show them they can help them. So that's your free offers. Then you have paid offers. Paid offers are what you're actually selling. A lot of people get squicked out by the idea that, oh my God, this is when the gremlin starts kicking up. I actually am going to ask for money. Am I worthy? Well, if you are 2 steps ahead of your people, they want to give you their money. They want to throw their credit card at you to just solve their problem. So your paid offer is you helping them to solve their problem. A lot of people goof up and they skip the free offers and they go straight to paid offers. But I want to just illustrate this really quick. This is why you have to have a free offer, everybody. Why you have to build an email list. Tim Ferriss, this is a really good example. Tim Ferriss has 1 million email subscribers, 1 million YouTube subscribers. I think it's 1.6 of each. 100% of his emails get into the inboxes of his people. There is no algorithm for emails. His YouTube channel, when he posts a video, some of them get 4,000 views. Some of them get 500,000 views. So there's an algorithm on social media. There's an algorithm on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. If you have a good free offer and you're getting emails, you're bypassing the algorithm.
Yeah.
So this is why you need some free offers. And then you need a good paid offer or a couple or various, an ecosystem of services, ebooks, courses, memberships, whatever. I go at great length about how to do all this in the program. There's lots of different things. I've sold memberships, courses, coaching programs, you name it, live events, whatever. And then above that, we have daily systems. So if you're going to do an online business, you need a daily income system. You have to. You just have to have it. If you don't have a daily
What's a daily income system?
A daily income system is you have to show up for your people and you have to distribute your marketing across many channels. So this is an ecosystem of marketing. What I recommend, this is just a quick little freebie for everybody, film 1 long form on YouTube because the relationship building on YouTube is so much richer than the 30-second videos on TikTok. It takes something like an hour for a customer to make a purchase with you, whether that's in real time via a sales kind of pitch or via them consuming your content. So it's a really good idea to focus a lot on YouTube or podcasts. Then you take that 1 long form and you pop it into Opus.pro and let it split up a bunch of clips for you and then put those on Instagram. Put all of this in Plannable.io, by the way. Plannable.io is where you can just pop all of your stuff in a calendar so you're not on a content hamster wheel. Then you take all that content and you write up a couple articles or blogs. And you can do all this you can spend a couple hours a week just doing all this stuff and set it on autopilot. But if you just have an offer and then you have a free offer and then you're like, cool, set it and forget it. And then you show up on YouTube like once in a while, it doesn't work. It's like having a bread machine. So the whole online business thing, you're building this beautiful machine. It's an income machine, but just like with a bread machine, if you don't turn it on, it won't make bread for you. So you have to actually turn the machine on with these daily systems. You have to actually show up and make the bread. You have to turn it on. It doesn't like work itself. You're not just going to show up on the internet, make a cool website, have an offer, and it's just not going to spit out bread for you. You have to actually turn it on. And then at the very top of that is launching. So we have to know how to launch this stuff. And there's an evergreen way to launch your products. And that means it's selling 24/7, 365. And that's more for the low ticket stuff. And then we have the high ticket launches. That's the kind of quarterly or monthly or however often you want to launch, maybe annually, maybe semi-annually launch kind of sequences. And we can use workshops for that. We can use freebies for that. We can use quizzes for that, whatever. There's lots of different ways that we can launch. But that's the 7-phase online profit system in a nutshell. And that's kind of like everything that I go really in depth in the program. And I'm having such a fun time. It's like a big art project. All of it is like so much artistic.
A big art project that gets you paid.
Yeah,
when you finish
right. And it's, yes, and it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Like all of it is so much fun to me. Yeah.
If you're listening to that, pause it right now and then go back,
Go write all
figure
that
out the
shit down.
timestamps and listen to it like 10 times. And right, because that's like, she just literally laid it
You just got an MBA in about 4 minutes.
Yeah, she wrote your business plan.
Yeah, done.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
That's very exciting.
Thanks.
Yeah, very exciting.
You can take that system and use it for anything, by the way. You can use that to sell. I don't care what niche you're in. This is universally applicable systems. That works across the board. And that's me breaking it down, just like with the fitness stuff. I love breaking it down for lay terms. You don't have to be Jeff Bezos or Steve Jobs or you don't have to be a business savant to get this stuff working.
So in your high ticket programs, you've already had clients go through this already that have built their businesses?
Yeah, this is my first time ever doing a high ticket offer, by the way. Like I told you, I did donation-based stuff, and I had a program that was a run, set it and forget it. Mm-hmm. And then this pilot program, it wasn't even necessarily high ticket. I just wanted to really see what I could do with a group of women and get them started. And actually, for instance, let me share a story about a client named Bleak.
I was just about to ask if you had some cool client stories.
Yeah, I've got a ton of them. The website, by the way, BrendaTurner.com/money. It's just a wall of people who are like loving what I'm teaching and who are actually getting value from it. So Bleak came into the program, multi-passionate artist type who had a job, but she's really passionate about style. And she's like, I got no idea how I'm going to make this work. How am I going to monetize this? And so now she is going to be offering high-end retreats, fashion retreats. She's in France, so she's going to put together high-end fashion retreats for women.
That's rad.
Right. And she came in kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm kind of nervous. And she's got all this she's like stunning with her skills and her eye and her talents. And this is the thing where we were talking about before. All of the women who joined the program are like exceptional. And if you've got this calling to do this kind of stuff, it's because you're exceptional. You've got the call now. It's time to step into it. But all of them were scared and uncertain and not putting themselves out there. There's another one named Marianne DeClaire. She's now on YouTube. She was scared to post her stuff on YouTube, but she helps women through menopause. And she was just nervous to put herself out there. She was nervous of getting judged. And now she's posting on YouTube because she's overcome that kind of uncertainty. She's tamed her gremlin. And so yeah, it's just really been rewarding for me to see people taming their gremlin and stepping into understanding all this online business stuff. It takes about 6 weeks to get through the material. I have a pre-recorded course that's in the program. It takes 6 weeks to get through all this curriculum. And then it takes about 6 months to implement this stuff. And then it might take up to a year to start seeing like a steady flow of income. I cannot sit here and look anybody in the eye and say, hey, guess what? Like, you're going to take this and you're going to have instant riches in a month. That's just not how this stuff works. It takes time. You have to build up an audience. You could definitely make a sale way faster than a year, but I just want to give a realistic time frame for anybody who's, whether they're taking my program or just starting online business. A realistic time frame is you might want to give yourself a year to start seeing some real income coming in. That's just realistic, in my opinion.
Do you have a dream that's far into the future, or like an end vision that pops into your mind, like disappearing into the woods in a cabin? Or I'm just curious.
Yeah, my ultimate dream is that when I'm on my deathbed, I can really honestly say without any resistance that I truly lived as me. Not a single shred of who I am wasn't expressed. And that's what I'm really hoping. Not even hoping, that's what I'm working towards.
That's really well put. I have something similar, but I'm going to steal yours.
Yeah.
But mine was more like, I want to be able to, when the time comes, whenever that comes, and you don't know when it's going to come, the dying process or to die, to be able to fully go into it. To fully just be able to just like, all right, here we go. And be able to fully like allow yourself to let go into it completely. And everything outside of that, like now till then, could be tomorrow or whenever, is just working on how do you get ready for that?
Yeah. Dying before you die. Yeah. Letting go. But basically you did just say what I said in just a different way.
That's what I'm saying. You said it way better though. I like the expressing yourself. You know,
you're just a better copywriter than Brett.
I can barely write.
When he told me he doesn't like writing, you were like, I hate writing. I'm like, really? Like,
you give him a microphone. Listen, the amount of 10-minute long voice notes that I get from this guy. He's a stream of consciousness.
Really?
He so good. Like, he'll also listen to a podcast and just remember the entire thing. Like dense scientific podcasts, very audio based in his learning. But you tell him to write an email and it looks like a fourth grader did it. It's just spelling errors. Nothing makes any sense. So now when
that's why, like me working with people on Alibaba. So I'm working with Chinese manufacturers, and my bad grammar, and we're trying to communicate back and forth. It's absolute chaos.
Are you talking about with your Tumblr tote?
Yeah, like that. Yeah, some of the like we sell a bunch of random stuff too.
Okay.
Which we're gonna drop a candle warmer. You ever seen candle warmers?
Yeah.
We're making a mushroom.
You guys are both?
Yeah, we're making a mushroom one.
Oh, nice. Nice. I love that. I love that. Like, that is fun.
We don't know if it's going to do well or not, but we're like, you know what?
It's fun.
Maybe the mushroom it's asking us to make it into things. And we should make it into things.
We should.
Like the gods are asking us.
We are the catalysts to spread forth the good gospel.
That's why we're not successful, is we haven't been making fucking mushroom things.
Exactly.
Were you guys shrooming when you came up with that idea?
Well, this whole podcast, this whole brand started from a mushroom trip. We lived together in a house in Seattle.
Are you from Seattle too?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Did you guys move here together? Were you guys like, cool? Oh, that's awesome.
Exactly.
I
Both
didn't
had
know
the
that.
intention to,
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, he moved a year before because he was a trainer and he was like, fuck it, I'm out, and just dipped. But I had a business I had to like hire someone to take over and all that stuff. So it took a
long. You were on the
while.
lease, right? You were the
I was also on the lease.
Yeah, you were like, man.
So I just had some obstacles, but I made it down about a year after him. But it all started when we lived together and we would take mushrooms and we'd go on long walks. We'd go on long walks all the time. It was during COVID. Nice. We moved into the house and like 3 months later, COVID happens. Then we're locked in the house. And it's a quick way to make fast friends or fast enemies. Luckily, we went the friends route. And we would take mushrooms, we'd go on long walks, and we were like, oh, we're two fun guys. We're just a bunch of fun guys. And so then the podcast idea sort of started from there.
That.
Originally, it was going to be we were going to wear lapel mics, take mushrooms, and go for walks in the woods.
Oh,
that was going to be the podcast.
You should still do that.
We still will. Yeah, we just bought lapel mics. So
you didn't answer that question that Brent asked, though.
What was
I'm curious about. You asked what the grand vision was for your life, like for my life, and you shared yours and I shared mine, but you didn't share yours.
I didn't know it was directed at me also.
Well,
but I'll share.
Yeah,
it's actually very similar to both of you guys. I'm just going to word it differently, but simply, if I were just to put it in the most basic, simple terms, on my deathbed, not look back with any regrets.
Oh, I love it.
That's it. It's very simple. So every day I think about that. I think about future me on the deathbed. Like if I have a fork in the road, I have two paths. Would I regret doing it or not doing it? And most of the time, like, pretty clearly which direction is the one that's more in alignment with where you want to be.
Yeah.
And have a very clear like North Star. And then you just decide, like, does this choice, does it take me closer or further from my final vision?
Right.
And so life becomes very simple and binary when you just have
funny?
A clear destination.
It's funny that all of our Venn diagrams overlap.
Right. Because I think that's an inherent truth of humanity. So it's like we've all put makeup on it in different ways, but it's just the human expression coming out.
Right. I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in good company.
I think so.
Yeah. I feel understood.
Yeah. So what's next for you? I know you have the course and all
I'm
this,
basically
but
working
what's your
on
next
that.
vision?
Oh, yeah. So I just the past couple days, I've been in my bat cave creating a shop on my website with little courses that are accessible for lots of different budgets. So I have a confident creator course, and that's going to be that it's going to be up by the time you're listening to this, it's going to be on my website at brendaturner.com/shop. So I created the confident creator, and that's about how to actually be in front of a camera and be confident, and techniques about delivering your message. I also have a 10K in 30 days toolkit, and that's actually built a lot on Notion templates that I take people through the lessons, the videos. I take them through a couple videos, and then I take them through some lessons. And so basically what I'm trying to do for the next year or so is to put on my website as many resources as I can for anybody who maybe was where I was when I started this journey, where they're like, God damn, I really want to make this online business thing work. I would just like to know how to do it. There's lots of people talking about different angles of this, but I feel like some of it's either two things. It's either the abundance bullshit, which there's a place for it, but you have to know what you're doing. You have to know how to put together a list. You have to know the tactics. And the abundance fashionistas or whatever, they're not going to get you there. If your abundance coach isn't telling you how to build an email list and they're not telling you to launch your product, stop it.
I'll say this real quick.
Yeah.
Like, one thing I really appreciate about your content is you have the mindset abundance, to use your words, like the woo-woo stuff is what you're teaching. There's so many mindset and manifestation and affirmation coaches out there that like they teach this thing. But one thing that you do differently is you actually have this tactical side as well. It's like, okay, so now that we've switched your mindset, here's now the steps you have to take to actually implement it and make money, because you can't just sit there and will the dream home. Like, you have to will the dream home and then go out and do the steps that get you the dream home. The willing is the thing that allows you to believe you can do it. Right. So I like that you have both sides of this, because it's a pandemic out there of people teaching just the first step.
It's the juice behind the action.
Yeah, and then the other side of it is the business lessons taught by business experts. It's more like B2B. It's more extreme tactics where it's like super level advanced stuff that you don't really probably even need to worry about. Right. If you're just starting out, you really just need to worry about the 7 phases of the online profit system that I talked about that are very accessible. You don't need to be worrying about plots and graphs and charts and ROI and all of this stuff and getting all analytical in your Google Analytics and all that stuff. You just need to know. So I haven't really seen much down to earth, practical, soulful business tools. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to offer it from my own unique voice of basically just the truth about business as I see it, online business as I see it, as a six-figure business person. I haven't hit 7 figures, so I can't teach you how to hit 7 figures.
Not
but
yet.
But I can certainly teach you how to. Hitting 6 figures is pretty easy. It's way easier to hit 6 figures than it is to not hit 6 figures. And I know that sounds crazy, but once you get learning this stuff, you can see, oh, this is pretty straightforward. It's simple. It's straightforward.
I'm just blown away with all the different skills you have, and the ability to implement them all is amazing.
Thanks.
And I imagine if you had people under you, I couldn't imagine what you would make.
I know.
You're a one-man show right now. If you had a team,
I know.
Like you just had like even just a good assistant and someone else.
I had some assistants. It's just sometimes they fall off, and sometimes like
and you'd be a great mentor. That's the thing.
Thanks.
Like it would be a privilege for people to be able to work under
Brent.
you. So anybody listening to this, if you have some skills that you think you could offer, for sure, reach out to her, right?
I mainly need a really good web designer. I know enough to get myself in trouble.
Your DMs are about to be insane.
Yeah, if you could do the web design for me, please, like the landing pages and stuff, I can design. I actually, before I started my online business, I was in college, but purposely took HTML and coding. So I know how to do all this shit. It's just not my zone of genius. I can do it all.
I have recommendations for you.
Okay, good. Yeah, good. Landing pages. That's my main thing. And virtual assistant would be really nice, but one that knows how to do everything. But yes, thank you. I do know how to do all of it. I can do all of it. And it's to my detriment sometimes. Sometimes I think it's like a torture device I use for myself. It's like, okay, let's think of this grand vision. And then it's almost like I had this thing called a master method last month. And it was this book that I basically wrote a 60-page book and I created a planner because I know how to do the whole Adobe suite. I created a planner, a guidebook, an online portal for it, video lessons, and it was a freebie to promote your first 6 figures program. If you took a team of 5 people, it would have taken like 2 months to do this shit. And I did it in like under 2 weeks. And then I was finished with it and I was like, I need to just hire you. Like, why am I doing this to myself? I need to just get a team of people to help me.
Let's unpack that. The mindset queen herself.
Yeah.
You now have a constraint.
I do. Yeah.
Why do you think that's there?
Yeah, I think that is still a lingering part of my ego that thinks, okay, if it's this weird thing. So I have this part of myself where I want to see what I'm capable of. And if I can do the impossible thing, it's almost like the marathon. I resonate with David Goggins when I see him running like 100 miles.
I get that vibe.
Totally.
Yeah.
But maybe the next step the next step of what you're capable of is
letting go of that.
Team leading.
Yeah.
Or letting go.
That's another thing about team leading is that actually is something that just you saying that, I can feel the fear. So there's some fear there. I haven't
Chase the fear.
Yeah, I haven't really faced that fear head on of having a team of people depending on me. But yeah, that might be nutritious to get into that. But yeah, there's a part of me that wants to see what I'm capable of. And I'm an artist too. And I love all of the modalities. I want to write. I want to graphic design. I want Photoshop. I like all of it. It just can be a lot. So anyway, that's kind of what.
And I guess at the end of the day, like.
You get it.
It doesn't necessarily, it's not like you're trying to build this to keep building it and building it and building it.
No.
So it makes sense. Like if I'm not going to continually grow forever and get bigger and bigger offers, then why wouldn't you want to put it together if it is one of your art forms?
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like maybe hard for a period of time, but it's not forever.
Yeah. Art is one of those things you don't build a team for. Like you don't have a surrogate artist.
Right.
Like Da Vinci wasn't like, you come in and you do this part.
You want to touch all the
He's got to do this thing.
I really do want to just, in the future, in the very near future, I want to start writing books and just focusing on writing that is my primary, like, that is my love. That's my soulmate, writing. I just really want to help people with, writing is just great. So I want to get some books published and maybe self-publish some books. And that might be, maybe if I hire people to handle all the other arts, and maybe I just will have to relinquish some of that stuff and just focus on my primary art form, which is writing, really. So, but for the meantime, I'm really enjoying all of it. And until I can like, my eyes can be bigger than my stomach sometimes with this stuff, you know?
All right, before we end though,
what
would be your first book?
I have a book that I'm writing, that I've been writing for like 2 years.
Okay.
And so the tentative title, which is not going to be the title, I'm sure, because it's already taken, but it's Becoming the Light. And it's more or less a treatise on how to be experiencing that part of you that isn't the scared, sad little me. So, so that might be. And then I do have a book that I am going to release in the next few months that's not a book, but it's a workbook that's going to help people with the online business stuff. So this is going to be a workbook that's probably going to be done by the end of March in 2025 that you're going to be able to get and fill out, and it'll take you step by step. And that'll be like a really nice, cheap little like $7 one-time offer kind of thing. That'll be a nice little lead magnet, but it'll be a good lead magnet, and it'll get delivered to your door. And then once you buy it, you'll also have the chance to upgrade to some other options. You know what I'm saying? It will be an ad, but it will be an ad that'll give you some value. So, but anyway, I look forward to getting a book out there soon. In the meantime, I'm here to help anybody who'd like to be helped with any of this information. So,
well, Brenda, I want to thank you very much.
Thanks
for taking your time out of your super busy schedule, building things to help everybody, women especially. And these kind of conversations are why we podcast. So thank you so much. And I hope everybody listening gets a ton of value. How do people connect with you?
BrendaTurner.com/shop. That's where all those courses are going to be, or BrendaTurner.com. I've got a blog that I put articles and helpful resources and all that stuff. So.
And instead of watching political videos, start from her YouTube channel 14 years ago and work through all of her videos.
I think you should start with the past 2 years, but if you want to go for
start with the fitness stuff.
You get to see the journey, or at least watch a couple.
Yeah.
It's cool. And there's some really good stuff that's practical now that people are remaking, and you made it a decade ago.
Oh, thanks.
Don't you think so?
Nice. I don't keep up on any of that.
Let me tell you.
Thanks, Brent. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. That's really nice. Thank you, guys.
It was an honor to have you here.
Thanks.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thanks so much, you guys.
Thank you, sports, for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Adios.
See ya.